Building intranets with Plone has always been one of the two main use cases of Plone itself, which is building websites and intranets. Out of the box, Plone provides most of what you need to build a successful intranet solution. Today, I will present an internet project that we built with Volto or Plone 6 and that we shipped to one of our clients last year. The Forschungszentrum Jülich is one of the biggest research institutions in Europe. FZJ, or Forschungszentrum Jülich, translates to a Jülich Research Center in English. They host more than 6,500 people, including a Nobel Prize winner, Peter Grünberg. The Forschungszentrum Jülich is located in an area of 1.7 square kilometers between Cologne and Aachen, with an annual budget of more than 731 million euros. As an interesting side note, they host some large-scale research facility, like the Cozy Particle Accelerator, or for IT people, even more important, one of the fastest the fastest supercomputer in the European Union, which ranks 7th fastest supercomputer worldwide with 44.1 petaflops. But that was just a side note, so back to our main use case. The Forschungszentrum Jülich used the government site builder until last year. Government site builder is most likely something that our non-German audience never heard of. It's a content management solution that for German government bodies that the German government built, and its development started in 2003. It uses Java, Apache, Tomcat, and MySQL as a stack. And it's a Java desktop application. If you're like me and you work with like building Java desktop applications, I will spare you the details. You most likely know how the user interface of Java desktop applications looks like, and you will know what I'm talking about. Newer versions have a web-based editor, but according to our client, that didn't really improve the situation that much. The highest government bodies in Germany are actually required to use the government site builder for both their intranet and internet solutions. And even though the Forschungszentrum Jülich is largely funded by federal, state, and federal government money, there are, luckily for us, free to choose other solutions. So what were the problems of their existing government site builder-based intranet? From an operational point of view, mostly the outdated software stack that they have. That was hard to upgrade and hard to maintain over time. The editors were unhappy with the usability and the flexibility of the system, and especially the lack of modern features. Users were unhappy with the site structure, the information architecture, the search, and the appearance, which to a certain degree were caused at least partially by the government site builder and the software architecture. I will come to the details a bit later when we talk about the migration. So our challenge was that the support contract for a government site builder ran out at the end of 2020, and the client didn't want to renew. So it was clear that they wanted to switch to a new system. So we had a bit of time pressure on the project and a tight deadline. So we had 1 year within and 12 sprints budget, and our challenge was to migrate the government site builder intranet to Plone, and as well build a new system within 1 year. So we approached this problem by working in parallel on 3 different areas. The area 1 was making the migration happen, which was the most important one because of the running out support contract. But at the same time, we had to build a new intranet because it was clear that the information architecture and the way it looks and feel of the old intranet wasn't making users and editors happy. And at the same time, we approached some of the major UX issues that we found in the old intranet, or that the client found had with the old intranet. So let's look at the migration first. Luckily, we have quite some experience with migrating large university clusters and other large-scale systems with Transmogrifier to Plone or other systems. I will spare you all the the details of the migration itself, because this is a use case talk and not a migration talk. I can just assure you that we have enough material for an entire conference talk, talking just about the migration. So I will just provide you a few numbers that you know what we did. So as a source, we got 30 gigabytes of XML, raw XML data. The government site builder allows you to export its data as XML. We just exported published content. That was a decision made by the client. Government site builder has revisions and unpublished content, so workflow is pretty similar from the features to Plone. But the client decided to just expose or give us the published content, right, to clean up the system. And there was an XML file format on the file system. We migrated 30,000 documents, 40,000 images, 10,000 files, roughly 8,000 member objects that were synced with Active Directory. I will come to that later and go into details a bit more on that. The main challenges for the migration were technically because government site builder is a system that uses MySQL internally, and it exposes the internal SQL structure to its editors by providing two different structures. If you think about a tree in Plone or in a content management system or in an intranet, then government site builder has two trees that are completely independent of each other. You have one tree for your content nodes and a second completely independent tree of the navigation nodes or the navigation structure. So if a system exposes those kind of internals or like offers that kind of flexibility, if you want to put it in a more positive way, then if you can imagine hundreds of editors over 10 years or longer, you can imagine what they were up to and how they were using the system, right? So we ended up with lots of occasions where it was just impossible for us or impossible for an algorithm to decide which node to take, because we had, for instance, situations where when you go via the navigation tree, you will see one content or one page, and when you access it directly, you will see another page. And so in the XML data that we got, we had two different versions that were both correctly shown in government site builder, but they had different content. So there's no way for an algorithm to decide which version to choose, right? And this was one of the simpler examples that we had. So that was for sure a challenge. The second challenge is related to the size of the project and the organizational structure. So the Forschungszentrum Jülich is quite a big organization with lots of users and consumers and different organizational units. I will come to that later as well. And we had to deal with all those organizational structures together with our clients, of course, over time. But luckily for us, we had some highly motivated early adopters that jumped on Plone very early in the process and used our system very early in the process. So that was successful, but not without challenges, of course. The migration process was painful and not without problems, as mentioned before. But working closely with the client and having a client that was able to understand the technical difficulties that we went through, we made it together, and we shipped we did the migration in time and in budget. The second part of the project was building the actual intranet, right? Because when you migrate the data, you need to migrate somewhere. And that is basically content management system, right? Or Plone. The good thing is that Plone provides most of the core features of a content management system or intranet solution out of the box. Though we had a tight schedule, we had lots of editors that needs to be trained. When you have larger organization, usually the training costs are quite high, and we didn't have much time for the transition and for training people. And then in the middle or at the beginning of our project, the global COVID pandemic came along, and usually the Forschungszentrum Jülich trained their staff on premise, right? So there were lots of difficulties, but together with the IT services of the Forschungszentrum Jülich, we made it. They created a series of very good screencasts and tutorials for the editors, and that together with the user friendliness of Volto or Plone 6 made it and allowed us to train lots of editors in a very short amount of time. And at the same time, the new Volto stack that we had allowed us to keep a very high development speed and work on the development of the intranet at the same time as we were working on the migration and on working with the client on UX issues and trying to solve them on a conceptual level. So now let's come to a few details. So as said before, we use Plone 6 or Volto. And Volto is based on the idea of a single column responsive design with blocks that allow you to create, for instance, then grids or more complex page compositions. So of course we used the Volto core blocks that are there, like images, text, videos, and we built around 20 custom blocks for this current project. And I will show you 2 of the custom blocks that we built. One of the most important blocks and also one of the blocks that we're most proud of is the teaser grid block. The teaser grid block is a general purpose block that allows you to place between 2 and 4 elements in one row of a block. So it's basically the same functionality that Mosaic, for instance, provides you, or collective cover, but with the core idea of Volto, of a single column modern page layout. We will open source this block today, or an even more powerful version of that block. Victor will show you more of this in his presentation today. As said, it's something that we're really proud of, and I think it's a very good addition to Volto to allow us to create complex page layouts. So without further ado, I will show you how this block works. So this is the front page. You add a block, you choose the number of columns. I choose 2 here. Then you choose a source because it's a teaser, so you're teasering an element that's already there. You choose the second teaser. You have the sidebar there to quickly navigate through things, and it will show you automatically the preview images that are on the content object. You can add more columns here as you go, so you don't have to decide up front. You can use drag and drop to change the order, and then when you save, you see the view of the teaser grid block. Another block that's more simpler but rather similar is the highlight block. The highlight block also uses that core idea that on overview pages you usually only teaser existing elements, so you don't create new content from scratch, but you rather teaser something, because this is what landing pages or overview pages mostly do. So this is another variant, if you will. The idea is that you highlight something that's really important on the intranet. So it's rather large. It's automatically filled out on the right side if you choose a source. You can overwrite the title here if you want. Otherwise, it takes the title that has given to that object, and you can overwrite the description here. So this way, we ensure that editors have the least amount of work because they just reference something, and then the headline and title and the image are filled out automatically. But they also have the power to override the title, the image, and the description if they feel like it, right? Because maybe you want to teaser one element on different pages and you want to have a different description or a different title. Or sometimes, especially in Germany, titles are too long for a teaser, right? So you want to shorten them. And this block and also the teaser grid block allows you to do so. So that was the blocks. So let's come now to the organizational structure, with, as I said, was a challenge during the migration. The Forschungszentrum Jülich consists of 18 organizational units. From the outside, they have lots of, they're structured like a regular larger university with institutes and divisions. But internally, what counts is the organizational units. So each organizational unit within the intranet of the Forschungszentrum Jülich has used to have their own news, their own structure, their own navigation, their own job offers, members, and their own group of editors. So in Government Site Builder, they were completely separate instances, right? Like you could do in Plone as well. But one of the problems that the users reported on the Government Site Builder was that often they had no clue on which part of the site they actually were, if they were on a sub-site or on a different project website, or so that was hard for the users to see because they all looked similar. So together with the client, we worked a bit on the information architecture, and we came up with the conclusion that for the intranet use case, the organizational units should have their own sub-sites, but those sub-sites shouldn't be completely separated, right? So they shouldn't be viewed from an outside viewer as being on a separate page, right? Just that you're in a separate area within this organizational unit. So I will show you how we accomplish that. So you already saw the front page of the intranet of the Forschungszentrum Jülich, and this is one of the organizational unit pages from the IT services. And you can see from this blue block that you're on a different part of the site, but still in the main intranet solution, right? In the blue block at the bottom, you see the organizational unit navigation that is custom. Above in the blue block, there is general information how to reach them. You see that the breadcrumbs are the same, so we have a sub-site, not a completely separate site. You see the teaser grid at the top. Then you see a news block, event listing, and again, a teaser grid block, which we use quite a lot, or which the client uses quite a lot. You can go to edit. You see that the view and the edit mode are very similar. You can still drag and drop things here, change the order. You can add new blocks here, or you can delete existing blocks. The teaser grid block will adapt automatically. And this, of course, also works for responsive designs. As said earlier, you can override the title here or the description if you want to, and you can even override the image source if you want to use a different image, because it occurred to us during the project that you don't always want to use the same image for every content object that you have. And then we have the news block here. As said, the news block is basically a combination of a teaser and a listing. So you can change the background color here if you want to, depending on where you're using it. You can choose the source of the teaser on the left side. You can override the title here as well. So this blocks gives you lots of flexibility, or the same flexibility that we have on the other blocks, like the teaser grid block. This is a regular event listing, so nothing special here, or a regular listing block with different listings that we created for the client. So you have an event listing here, you have a news item listing, and you can choose different appearances, and the rest is just the regular Volto listing block behavior that you can restrict the amount of items that are there. And the last element is the well-known teaser grid block that I showed before. One other thing that we build, and that's quite common for the intranet use cases, is member profiles. So yeah, as said, this is well known within the Plone community. Usually, Membrane is one of the solutions that's out there to create content objects from members that usually come from LDAP or Active Directory. We choose a more lightweight implementation method. mostly because we already did that since like 2008 or 2009, and it worked quite well for us. So we just created a member content type, and then we sync that member content type with the Active Directory of the client via the REST API. That works quite well. Every few minutes we sync the data. We don't recreate objects every single time. Our sync script is smart enough to detect if something is there and just updates the attributes to reduce the write operations on the database. And that works quite well and reliably. The REST API helps a lot with avoiding write conflicts. Yeah, as said, that works quite well. I won't be able to show you all the details of the member profiles that we build, partly because that's still an ongoing effort, but as well because that's supposed to be a short introduction talk about the use case. Though no functionality that we build in Plone 6 or Volto comes without a block. That's almost a rule in Plone 6 or Volto projects. So I will show you a block that leverages the member profiles that we already have. So say you want to embed a member profile in a page, then you can create a new member block, and you can reference an existing user from the right sidebar. It will automatically fill out the details like the title and the contact details. And then we have a block with rich text that you can edit dependent on the use case, right? So you can think about lots of possible use cases for that. One is listings of staff members, or if you want to expose one of the members specifically in your content, or you want to show who wrote a specific piece of content. So this is a very flexible block. We have lots of other member profile related functionality in there, but this is a very flexible way of exposing the Active Directory and member profile connection that we build for our client. So the next thing that I would like to show is the search. Search is always a core requirement of a successful intranet, because intranets tend to be large, and it's usually quite hard, even for experienced users, to find the right content on a hierarchy of content, right? So search is something that's really essential, especially for intranets, even more than for public websites. And it was also one of the main pain points of the existing intranet. So the government site builder comes actually with a Solr-based solution, and that's the same stack that we choose for Plone or Volto as well. So that's partially to blame the government site builder structure that I explained earlier, because of the node and the navigation tree that differs. Also because they have some kind of media repository, which is called shared docs. If you've ever been on a German government website, you might have noticed this /shared docs. This is where all the content ends up in a government site builder page usually. And that makes it really, really hard to properly structure your content, right? And if you can't properly structure your content, then you will forget about content, you will duplicate content, and then even the best search in the world can't find anything any longer, because you have so many duplicate content and outdated content that even a good search or a good search engine is not able to find the right content. And that, together with the lack of proper configuration of Solr in government site builder, led to a situation where the search was really one of the main pain points and was not returning proper results. So we built the search from scratch, as said, with Plone, Volto, Collective Solr, and Solr, and a bit of custom indexes and stuff, but not much. Basically, the usual Solr configuration. So we put the search very prominently in the middle or top of the page. So you can type in something and you will see automatically this autocomplete. You will see on the left side the different icons for the different content objects. And we display the content objects dependent on their content type, both on the autocomplete as well as on the search results page, right? So you saw earlier on the autocomplete that if you're searching for a member, which is quite common, that you see the telephone number, the email address, and the organizational unit right away, because this allows you to really quickly get the telephone number of a person, for instance, right? Or another use case is that you do a reverse search for the telephone number, right? Maybe somebody called you and you don't know that, you don't recognize that telephone number, so you can search for the telephone number or for the room. We looked at that from a UX point of view and try to improve the main use cases that the client gave us, right? And that was one of the examples. So to sum up things, as said earlier, we worked on 3 different areas during this 12-month period for the project. We migrated the data from Government Site Builder to Plone. We built the new intranet with Volto and our new blocks, and we try to improve the user experience and usability, as you have seen with the search, for instance. And that all on the same time, while onboarding a staff of lots of editors in times of a global pandemic. And that worked quite well. We got an overwhelmingly positive feedback from the editors. They were really happy once they were able to switch from Government Site Builder to Plone. They told us that it's easier to use, that we have far more powerful features and a far better search, and that on the slide, we love Plone. That was an original comment, actually one of the first comments that we got from one of the early adopters. That made us really, really happy, and so that we knew that we were on the right track, right? So that was quite satisfying for us and also for our partners at the Forschungszentrum, that all our work was successful at the end. When I look at the project, as a retrospective, I think Volto was the key to match our client requirements. One reason was that Plone or Plone Classic is a stable, reliable, secure, and scalable backend, right? That provides the base CMS functionality out of the box. That's just battle-proofed. The Plone REST API allows us to expose all that power from Plone, and Volto provides a really easy to use and powerful editing environments that both users and editors love. It allows us to create a very user-friendly and also developer-friendly environment, because that's also a really important part of the success in this project, in my opinion, that we were able to work on all those things at the same time, because the development went really well and we were really be able to deliver fast while working on other things as well. The Volto Blocks engine allows us to make sure that corporate design guidelines are met at the same time as the blocks are accessible, and everything that comes with that. So to sum up things, we were really happy with the stack that we choose, using Plone as a backend with REST API and Volto on the top. The feedback that we got from our clients was overwhelmingly positive. And we think that's really a good example for future Plone intranet projects. And that's about it. If you have any questions regarding the project or regarding Volto, feel free to reach out to me. My name is Timo Stollenwerk. I'm the CEO of Kit Concept GmbH. On Twitter, you find me with Timo Stollenwerk. In the Plone community, I'm usually Tisto. My email is also there. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and enjoy the World Plone Day.